All right, so if you think you don't have enough time to do YouTube, you really need to watch this video because I'm going to break down step by step every single thing that you need to do and exactly how much time that it takes. And I'm going to be doing that in this video right now. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. There are a few steps that it takes to create a YouTube video, and I'm going to lay all of them out right here. So the first one is the idea. Then, after you get done with the idea, you have to write the script. Then, after you get done with the script, you have to record. Then, after you record, you have to edit. And then, after you edit, you have to upload and optimize. Okay. All right. So let's break down each one of these and exactly how long they take. So the idea, you can do this about once a month, and it might take you about an hour. You can come up with a ton of ideas. You can come up with like 30 ideas in an hour. And specifically, I recommend doing the icon method for the idea. Now, I've made lots of videos on the icon method. So I'm just going to put this here so you can see it, how it's spelled. I've made lots of videos on this, but it's basically a method where you find videos where the supply and demand is in your favor, which you want the supply and demand to be in your favor, because then when you make a video, you're going to be much, much more likely to have a successful video. So in terms of the time that this takes, let's just say on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, this would be about 1 hour. So on a weekly basis, this would take 15 minutes. Okay, so 15 minutes a week. Now let's move on to the script writing. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. I'm assuming you don't have any employees and you're just doing everything yourself, okay? So in that case, you are going to do what's known as a minimalist style. So we're going to talk about that right here. Minimalist, okay? So everything that we talk about here is going to be a minimalist style. And by the way, that's what I'm doing in this video right now. I'm making a minimalist style, right? Well, that's typically what I do on my second channel. I don't want too many fancy bells and whistles on this channel. I'm typically, targeting like busy business owners or high-level YouTubers, so people that are sophisticated, right? So they don't really need to be entertained. But I am going to talk about more of a retention editing or more, heavy editing style later on, and exactly how to do that. So here you would write your own scripts, and you can do this in several different ways. So one way you can do it is you can just basically make bullet points on a flashcard, just like this. This is for a different video that I did. You can also make bullet points on a Google Doc. You can have Claude make bullet points, or if you want to get a little more sophisticated, you can, obviously write your own bullet points as well. If you want to get a little more sophisticated, you can have Claude write your scripts for you. Now, I've talked about how to do this in other videos. I've made basically an entire course on how to do this. But in that case, you'd likely be reading it word for word, and you'd need a teleprompter. So the teleprompter I recommend is the Elgato teleprompter. That's what's in front of me right now. I'm not actually using it, but it's still in front of me. And you'd also want to get the Elgato pedal, right? So the pedal is attached to the teleprompter. You push on it, and it would go down. And that makes it very easy for you to read your script word for word. So either one of those methods really doesn't take very long. And again, like writing a flashcard, what does this take? Like 5 minutes to write out some thoughts on a flashcard? Literally just bullet point thoughts, right? So this could, take like 5 minutes per script. Let's just say it takes 15 minutes per script. And let's just say you're doing 3 videos per week. So we're going to say this takes 45 minutes, right? And this is on the high end, by the way. This is the high end. And then recording the videos themselves, okay? Let's just say you are doing it in the script writing form, so there's no edits in the videos. You're just talking, you're doing raw, authentic content, which, by the way, works insanely well, especially right now. It's working really well. So we're just going to say this takes another 15 minutes, okay, per video. So that's another 45 minutes per week. Then when it comes to the edit, nothing. You're not editing. You're not editing at all because it's just raw, authentic content. The most you would do is maybe cut the beginning and the end off, and you don't even actually have to do that outside of YouTube. You can literally just upload it onto YouTube. YouTube has a built-in editor where you can just cut the beginning and the end off. So that takes 0 minutes, right? 0 minutes per week. Then uploading and optimizing, this is something, I don't know, it might take like 15 minutes per week to upload. And then you have to type the title, and you would choose some part of the video that looks kind of good as the thumbnail. So this is another 15 minutes. So that is a total, if you add everything up, that is a total of 2 hours per week to make raw, authentic content. Now, there's a couple ways you could do this. You could just record your screen, kind of almost in a Loom style video. That's what, some of my clients do that, and then they can kind of just write on stuff. In this case, I'm recording my screen on an iPad, right? And then I'm also recording the camera angle too. So that's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is, just record on an iPad, or you can just record on the screen and just talk off the top of your head, right? But 2 hours per week, you add everything up, 15 minutes plus 45 minutes, that's 1 hour, plus 45 minutes, plus another 15 minutes, that is 2 hours total. Now, let's talk about if you want to make more sophisticated content. But by the way, I just want to reemphasize here. This proves that it doesn't take very long to upload to YouTube. And this minimalist style works extremely well, by the way, especially if you're targeting a niche audience. So I'm gonna specify that. If you're targeting a sophisticated or niche audience, typically people who have money, they don't really care about super fancy editing, right? So sophisticated niche audiences that have money, they don't really care about fancy editing. In fact, it builds trust faster to have more minimalist, raw, authentic content like this. All right, because there's no cuts, there's no edits. You can tell that the person who's talking is actually an expert because they're not cutting and editing and reading off of a script that could have been written by somebody else, where they're just reading other people's information. They're just talking off the top of their head, right? So you can tell they're an expert. Now, let's talk about retention. So if you're making more mass market content, we're going to say mass market content. This is what it would look like. And this is what it looks like for my channel. So idea, we start off with the idea. Then we go to the thumbnail, title, and intro. Okay, so we skip the script part, right? And we go to the thumbnail, title, intro. For mass market content, this is what I typically recommend. Then we go to script writing. Then we go to recording. Then we go to editing. And then we go to uploading and optimizing. Okay, optimizing. So let's talk about each one of these and how they work and how long it takes. So the idea is actually the same thing, about 15 minutes a week. That's it. The idea doesn't really change. It's about 15 minutes per week. Again, use the icon method. Thumbnail, title, intro. So this is where it gets a little more complicated, okay? If you want to do this yourself, this is going to take you a little bit of time. However, you can hire a position known as a creative director, and they can do it for you. So in this case, if you hire a creative director, this would take 0 minutes. If you do it yourself, the thumbnail, title, intro you'd probably want to spend about, for all of them, you'd want to batch them, right? It's 3, so you'd want to batch them. You'd want to do them all together. So this would probably take you about 1 hour a week. Okay, yourself. DIY, do it yourself, 1 hour per week. Then we move to the script writing. So this one would kind of be the same thing. If you want to do it yourself, this would take you 45 minutes. If you want to hire a script writer to do it for you, obviously this would take you 0 minutes. Would take you 0 minutes to do this. Right? Then you go to the recording. If you want to hire, well, obviously you're going to be doing this yourself. I do have a few clients who actually outsource this, and they actually have other people do it. Now, I think that kind of defeats the purpose of having a personal brand if you're outsourcing it. But for certain clients that are really trying hard to sell their business, for instance, like they have a portfolio of businesses, this does make a whole lot of sense. With that being said, I'm gonna assume you're making a personal brand, and so the recording process is likely going to take you about 45 minutes per week for 3 videos, 15 minutes per video. If you make longer videos, it might take you longer, obviously. And then the editing process, if you do it yourself, which I don't recommend, but let's just say you do very, very basic editing. You're using CapCut or something like that. I really don't recommend that you do it yourself, but if you do super basic editing where you're just cutting the beginning and the end off, that kind of thing, this might take you another 1 hour per week. And then uploading, optimizing, again, don't recommend you do this yourself. Obviously, this part should take you 0 hours per week if you are having somebody else do it. Let me actually replace this because I had it on top. So 0 hours here, and then one hour per week here. And then the uploading, optimizing, really just don't do this yourself, right? Don't do this yourself. This should take you 0 hours a week. And yeah, you really just you should have somebody else do that, right? Don't upload and optimize. That's not a good use of your time. So if you have a creative director, you can get it down to, let's see, 15 minutes here, and then 45 minutes to record. So that's about 1 hour per week, right? 1 hour per week. And this is exactly how much time I have to spend on my main channel that has 1 million subscribers per week. I spend about 1 hour per week, okay? If you have somebody else doing a lot of this stuff for you, right? So it's 15 minutes plus 1 hour, that's 1 hour, 15 minutes, plus 45 minutes, that's 2 hours, plus 1 hour for editing, that's 3 hours-ish. And then let's just say you're uploading and optimizing and doing all that other stuff. So that's another 1 hour. So that would be about 4 hours per week, right? This is if you have, you're doing some of it yourself, but you also have other people doing a lot of it too, but you're keeping it relatively minimalist, right? You're not doing super retention editing, but you're keeping it relatively minimalist. You'd be looking about 4 hours a week. And that's without a creative director, without CD. So with CD, with creative director, about 1 hour per week, and without creative director, you kind of have to oversee things. You have to do some quality control, that kind of thing. That's where that extra hour comes from, is the quality control. Whereas if you did have a creative director, there's no quality control necessary. So that's about 1 hour per week. So without creative director, if you're doing a little bit more mass market content, it's about 4 hours a week. With the creative director, if you're doing it, it's about 1 hour a week. So that just shows you exactly what you can do. So if you think that you don't have enough time to do YouTube, then watch this. Now, the key to all of this, whether you do it yourself or you have a creative director, whether you're doing niche content that's minimalist or retention editing content, the key to all of this is the system. You need to have a system to do all of these things efficiently, okay? And efficiency, okay? Efficiency is extremely important. And this is what I teach people how to do, because most people are just going at this on their own, and they're doing it without a system, right? So the system, it's kind of like an SOP, right? SOP, it's step by step, and it's proven, right? It's a proven process. And you're going to be relying on AI, right? AI helps you out tremendously. AI can help with many of the steps on this list. And ideally, the only thing that you really have to do, especially if you get a creative director, is just record. That's it. Other people can take care of everything else. And this is where I have it on my main channel. And the system is going to be a little bit different with every type of channel. It needs a little bit of tailoring. That's one thing that we help our clients do, is we basically tailor things. With that being said, we do have a simplified system, especially if you're making minimalist content, just to get started, which by the way, I do recommend getting started with minimalist content. We have a simplified system that we actually give out for free. We'll put that down in the description in the pinned comment below. You can check it out. But if you are doing the more complicated system, like I said, it's going to be different for everyone, slightly different things, different types of content they're making, different types of formats, different outcomes that they're going for, different levels of editing, et cetera, right? What we help people do, especially if they're doing retention editing, is we help people build the system, okay? And what does this involve? This involves installing our proven process, installing our proven system, and then also tailoring the system to their particular channel, right? So installing is number one, and then number two is tailoring to their specific channel, right? Making it specialized to their channel. So you build the system. So this is step one. And then step two, you hire people to run the system for you, right? You hire people. And this is what we do for our clients as well. We help and build and install the system and tailor it to them. And then we help hire people to run the system. And then step three is we train them, train people. So we literally take care of all three steps for our clients when it comes to doing YouTube. This is the kind of thing, it's basically a build and release offer. And by the way, these people that we hire for you, they aren't super expensive. We hire them from the Philippines and we train them. We source, hire, and train them. And, you know, my whole team with my 1 million subscriber YouTube channel is from the Philippines, right? So it's not that expensive. And this is what we do for our clients, build and release, right? And we make it to where our clients typically only have to spend 1 to 4 hours per week on their channel. And this is to do 3 videos, right? 1 to 4 hours per week, 3 vids per week, which is what we recommend. If you're doing less than that, then it takes even less time, right? And these aren't just any videos. These are videos that get views and, more importantly, make money, right? Because that's the other thing we help people with. We get a lot of people in that are getting views, but they're not doing it the right way, and therefore they're not making money. We help them actually monetize efficiently, right? So we bring people in. There's 3 types of people that we bring in. People that are busy business owners, okay? People that are busy business owners, coaches, consultants, online service providers, agency owners, etc., that haven't started on YouTube, right? So they're brand new to YouTube, and we help them to A, get views, B, install system. So 1 to 4 hours per week, and then C, monetize effectively. Okay, actually make money on YouTube. So sometimes we'll bring in busy business owners that have like none of these skills. Sometimes they have the first one down. Sometimes they have the third one down, but they don't have the first one and the second one down. Or sometimes they have the first and the second one down, but they don't have the third one down, right? So they either have none of these, or they have only 1 or 2 of them, and they want to get all 3. figured out. The second type of person that we help is YouTubers who are having the same issues, right? They're either having trouble getting views, they're having trouble with time, or they're having trouble with monetization, right? They're spending too much time. Maybe they're getting views and they are monetizing effectively, but they're spending all their time on their channel, so they're not able to scale it. We brought in, or they're getting views, but they're not monetizing effectively, and they're spending way too much time. So just as an example of someone like this, Sean. So Sean was somebody who was spending like 40 plus hours per week on his channel, and he had been stuck making 10K to 30K per month for a very long time, actually years. And within 9 months, we helped him get to over 500K per month. And in fact, last month, he did over 650K, so 500K plus per month, and spending less than 10 hours per week on his channel. Now, he's now able to work on his channel, and he's not in his channel. So he's able to focus on growing it and growing his business. So he's able to work on his channel and not in his channel. An example of a busy business owner would be, I'd say, Thomas. So Thomas was spending he was spending over 8 hours per video, right? And he was only doing like one video a week, but he was spending over 8 hours per video. And we helped him basically free up all that time to where he could consistently upload. And he actually took himself out of the video recording process. So he doesn't even record his own videos anymore. So he's now spending 0 hours per week. And we helped him scale from 7 to 8 figures, partially just by freeing up a ton of his time, right? So he was able to scale from 7 to 8 figures because of that. And yeah, so these are the two types of people that we typically help. Once in a while, we'll work with just people who are newbies, but they have like a really good job or something like that. But that's not typical. Usually we work with these types of people. So if you think that you are one of those people who could use our help, go ahead and book a call down in the description and the pinned comment below. In this call, we'll figure out where you are right now, where you want to go to, figure out a tailored plan to get there, and then we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. And whether or not we end up working together, the call will be very, very valuable to you. So definitely book that call if you think it's even remotely interesting, right? Even if you're just interested in the hiring part, right? Book that call, right? Because that's one of the biggest secrets in making sure that you're not spending all your time doing it. And if you want to check out an example of, like a case study of us breaking down exactly what we did for Sean, for instance, I'm going to go ahead and put that right here. So you can click on that and check that video out.